we get ready for next year.
Brief window. Then all of a sudden the someone doesn't show up and it's budget. Less.
It's not our Mary.
We need to discuss that.
Now, is she?
Yeah.
What you guys think? I never met her.
That's runners for our.
Just gone?
That's runners for our.
There's more, my tax was kind of low on it.
So, three, down here. Simple.
And what we contain into that.
It looks just like you get new one. You get new one.
When's it gonna be ready? When's it gonna be ready?
Oh my goodness.
When it's ready.
Upgraded some recently. I had a paper for this.
I'm not sure what you put. 16, 17.
Right. And I don't know either, but you have it in the folder, so there's no reason. I can show you the check in the, what she sent along, there's a bunch of. Oh, no. Sorry, yeah, exactly, yes. Yeah.
Your expended funds, your expended funds.
Exactly, yeah. So if you, yeah, you would have those trainings.
She's doing two jobs. She's doing one job and
Who doesn't do two jobs?
You wanna know what that,
yeah.
You know, it's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
When I see it coming, I see it going back to some way, so. And I know.
You ready? See a whole bunch of people here I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad. So I'm gonna have everybody go around the table, but I'm Steve Cornell. I'm currently the chair. So I'm gonna have everybody go around the table. There's a sign-up sheet going around. If everybody can at least sign up on a grid. And we'll go this way this time.
Donald Range, Town of Southwest Harbor.
Roman White, sir.
Nearly 40 or elsewhere.
Jason Nichols,
Oops, sorry. Who's
Hi, Jeff McCarthy,
from?
Bethel, Maine.
Thank you.
Here in the South City Brewer.
Travis Royce in the mount.
James Stratney with the Consortium Healthy Communities Conference.
All right.
I'm Tyler from EMT.
So we haven't had a meeting in a while. Some of the delay has been because we haven't had any business. But that has changed. So I think what we want to do is quickly go through some of our business. So now that everybody's going around the table, can I get a motion to approve the agenda, or
So,
can I get a second? All right, all in favor? We had somebody just join us. I'm sorry, we're going to put you on the spot.
That's okay, Mark Leonard, Town of Easy.
Thanks, Mark. So the first thing is that since the officers their terms have expired prior to our current meeting, we need to have, I'm just going to go right to Gary because I know he's going to make a motion, so I'm just going to let him do it. Can I get a motion for any officers or a volunteer for officers? Nobody's going to volunteer?
I move we keep the same set of officers so that, and then I'll make a comment. That's a motion,
Okay. Can I get a second?
unless someone else wants it.
You know, if somebody wants the chair position, I'm happy to relinquish it. I'll also stay, so. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? And your comment?
My comment was, is now in the middle of negotiations, isn't the time to,
No, I'm happy to do it. I just knew you were gonna make the motion, so. We have a listing of our group financials, and Tyler handed everything out. We have 2 bank accounts now. I don't know if you remember, the reason that we had to move it over is that we were reaching the FDIC insurance amount on the one account. So what we did was we split it out. We moved the equipment reserve account into Machias Savings for no reason other than they have a branch across the street from my office. So you should have a list of what the financials are on there. And there's also a listing, I believe, of what the equipment reserve fund is. If you don't know what that means or you have a question about that, I'll be happy to answer that at the end of the meeting. So, or go ahead and interrupt now, but if you want detailed information on it, we can cover it offline. Go ahead.
There's a couple comments. I did, on stable to those is the information, so there's some pretty broad information about the equipment account. The 2 accounts, the Machias equipment reserve account is from when it was opened, so there's no real, it's not fiscal year or calendar year, it's actually almost a year exactly, it just happened. And the other account is the fiscal year, it's from July 1 to the current bank statement that I have, so.
Does anybody have any questions about the financial statements? Okay, can I get a motion to accept the financials?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Alright. Motion approved. We have a memorandum of understanding that we need to sign with Penobscot, or excuse me, with EMDC regarding the organization. Gary and I have suggested Tyler that he prepare a MOU for 2 years rather than a single year. If anybody has any objections, let us know, but we're gonna, basically what it is continuing the operating agreement that we have with EMDCC as we have right now. They take care of our bank account statements, the meetings, basically running the organization because we have no staff, it's all volunteers. If anybody has any particular questions about the agreement, you can address them to Tyler.
There's no changes.
Yeah, there's no changes to it.
And I just stated the hourly rate.
Yeah, so we're going from a 1 year, and since we haven't had a meeting in a year, we just decided to go for 2 years. Anybody has any objections or comments?
does anybody want to see a copy of it?
I can email it to you.
So if you have any questions, we'll sign that at the end of the meeting here, but can I get a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding?
Second.
All in favor? Right. Dues. Previously, we were doing a percentage of the dues going towards the funding of the organization as well as the funding of the reserve account. We have in the past, I'm not making a motion, I'm just tossing this out. We have in the past waived the dues, changed the amount of the dues, as well as waived and funded the reserve account based upon the wins of the organization, the amount of money and what we were doing. We're finally kicking into renegotiating Time Warner's. That's one of the things we're going to discuss today, so we actually did get some information back from Shelley. So I'm going to throw it out on the table. Does anybody have any comment or a motion to make about the dues for membership? Yes?
What were the dues last year?
We waived them last year, if I remember, because they were sent out late and they missed a lot of organizations' fiscal and was messing with them, so we voted to waive the membership dues last year. I believe it was 1/4 percentage point of the franchise fees, if I remember correctly. So it's a nominal fee. So if your franchise fees were X, it was 1/4 percentage of what you're collecting from Time Warner is what the
Actually, I think it's 25% of franchise fees you collect.
Okay.
It's supposed to be,
Well, it's on that 5/4.
it's supposed to be,
I say 1/4%.
yeah, it's supposed.
I'm not that bright. I'm an IT guy, not a finance guy.
Okay.
Yeah, so 25%. Yes.
Do we have sufficient funds right now to carry on without increasing this next year?
Cash on hand right now is 194,000. No, that was interest on the bottom, 171,000. So my gut feeling says yes, based upon we do have a new lawyer, not a new company, but we do have a new contact, a new lawyer, and things are gonna start hitting the fan right now, so. Gary, you can comment?
And remember, the dues that we're voting on right now is this existing year.
Yeah, for the past
We always bill at the end of the fiscal year for the previous 12 months is what we do. So what we're doing is if you have anything in your budget right now for Penobscot Downeast Cable Consortium bills, you won't receive one from us. You can-
If we waive the
If
dues.
we waive it.
It's always done in the past, not in advance. So you could have had the benefit of membership in this great organization for a year. So, you had no charge, yeah, kind of like a health savings.
So if the dues, if we vote for dues, and those budgets and municipalities have already been accepted for the next fiscal year, budgets won't reflect that.
That's an internal thing that you have to do with your town. Yes.
My suggestion is that the dues will put on the table for the following fiscal year, so that we can put in the next budget, 16, 17, 15, 16.
So you're saying waive them, or?
Well, I think the cycle should be way in advance of those budgets, so that they can put in that line.
You said you want to change how we do the dues, rather than do them in arrears, but then pay in advance.
I think so.
Okay. Any discussion?
It was just a thought.
And I know where Don's coming from. Now he's got dues money in his budget that can't be expended for anything else without selectmen's okay.
Oh, well, we
No,
don't
town
have
hall.
it, we don't have it budgeted.
Oh, you don't, for this fiscal year?
Yeah,
Well, you're on July 1,
July 1.
so you should have had funds in there from last year.
We had funds, I don't think it was budgeted last year.
Mr. Chairman, I would move, let's see where it goes. I would move to waive the fees for this fiscal year, except the fees, the dues for the next fiscal year, which would be FY 15,
Payable in advance.
at 25%.
Okay.
I second that.
Any discussion?
What date?
July 1.
I mean, that's when you want to receive the invoices. Ish, or sooner.
So you want to waive it for the past year, and then on July 1, we get a bill for the current year. So we're essentially just changing how we do it rather than arrears, we're doing it in advance. Any other comments? Again, I'm not a, yes, I'm not a finance guy, so, yes, so what's second?
What does that mean in dollars?
What's 25% of your franchise fee?
Bears now.
Yes. Some collect 5%, some collect 3%. I think Hamden, no, yes, Hamden does 3%.
Ellsworth does 5, and I think
I
this
think
year,
everybody else does 5.
I think we budgeted this year about 60,000, so it'd be $15,000.
Yeah, so if your dues are, $10,000, it's 25% of that, 2,500. So whatever yours are is 25%.
That's what it's been in the past.
Yes. Yeah. So some towns, like I said, have collected 3%, so it's 25% of the 3% rather than 25% of the 5% of the franchise. So franchise fees are based on the number of cable subscribers and they're billed individually in the town. That's why it's not the same flat rate. It's prorated based upon the number of people you have from members. So Bar Harbor and Ellsworth pay a little more than Bucksport and Warren. So it's no other discussion? All right, I'll put it to a vote. Change the way the dues are billed in advance, waive the dues for last year and change the way they're billed done on July 1 for the upcoming year. All in favor? All against? Motion passes. Tyler, you have some work to do. Or you have some work to pass on to somebody. I think my boss, who is a finance person, will like this one. Funding of the reserve account. Again, historically, we have put monies in the reserve account for the equipment reimbursement plan. Currently, right now, you can see what your account has as far as your reimbursement. These are things that you can purchase for your broadcast system and be reimbursed for. You don't get the money in advance. So there's your current amount of funding. We have both funded and not funded the reimbursement fund. So I'll put it on the table for any comment whatsoever. Do we want to fund the equipment reimbursement account, the reserve account this year? Do we not want to fund it? If we do want to fund it, at what number of dollars? Any comments from anybody? Does anybody need any funds to buy anything? They want us to pay for it?
What has the history been
For which town?
in previous years?
When we opened it, we did $20,000 as a flat rate, and then I think we did it for 2 or 3 years, and then we did it as a percentage 1 year, and then we waived it a couple of years. So basically, we would be taking monies from the $171,000 and moving it over to the other account and funding it. I'm not seeing a lot of drawdown on it. It looks like Bucksport got everything. Looks like you drew everything down for an equipment purchase of some kind.
Apparently, it's news to me, I didn't realize.
Well, apparently too, because it's zero, so it's news to me as well too, but,
Kathy, since she's been on board, I think she's been drawn down twice.
Okay.
She's taken
Okay.
years.
yeah,
We are in dire need of some additional equipment upgrades, our signal quality is terrible.
yeah.
It's like complaints for years.
Is that a Time Warner thing or your equipment?
Well, they're telling us it's our.
Oh, well, that's a standard. No, I better not. We're being recorded. I'll be asked. I've heard that before. We'll just leave it at that. Well, you could ask us to fund money in the equipment, and then you would get it based upon the formula of how much money you would get. It wouldn't be much. I think it'd be a couple $1,000 based upon the formula, but it's one way to do it. Make us pay for it.
The other way, Mr. Chairman, is we just save the money by waiving the dues. They can transfer that money in their own budget
Yep.
over to equipment instead of dues.
Yeah, so if you have monies in the town budget to pay the dues, you could move that over towards the equipment. Again, that's an internal operation.
Well, we'll be billed this coming July 1st, 2014 for the future rates, so.
July 1st, 2014 or 2015?
My understanding is 14.
Was that your understanding of 14? Bill?
That was
This
my
coming fiscal
understanding.
year?
If you waived it for the previous year and it had been in arrears, and then making the decision to, in the future, pay it forward, that would be July 1st, 2014.
That's the way that I understood it. Did I
That
misunderstand?
was my intent, that we waive it for this fiscal year and bill them beginning of next fiscal year.
In advance.
We wanted to bill up front,
The budgets for 14-15 have all been approved. So I'm suggesting
See,
that.
I'm not used to the town government, I'm in the city one where our budget gets approved in a few weeks, so that's why.
I answer your position.
Don't encourage.
So when do you want to receive,
Keep us about it.
when do you want to receive your bill, next March?
For payment to the 15-16 rather than payment out of 14-15.
So you want to wait 2 years?
That wasn't what was approved.
I mean, the budget's supposed for most of the small towns beginning fiscal year July 1st, so that the budgets are all complete. I'm not too sure if many of these towns have put those line items into, and our town will be paying roughly $7,500, $8,000.
Considering that you have a contractual obligation to pay your dues until today when we waive them, why wouldn't it be in that budget?
Because you got some managers who still don't know what they're doing.
Okay.
Well, currently based upon the motion that just passed, they're going to be due July 1.
We're gonna be due July 1, or we will get the bill?
You'll get the bill in July.
You get
I'm
it
sorry,
sometime in July.
sometime in July when we send.
That's what you do within 30 days, or?
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a real big collection agency, so 30 days.
I don't think you can see us sending the box.
Tyler's
Might
pretty,
be bombarded with emails.
Tyler's pretty mean on the email front, so.
Well, I'll have to check with Catherine on what that expenditure was for, but I'm fairly new to this position, and fairly new to getting involved in it, plus what cable access. But my understanding was that it was several years ago that there was some equipment upgraded, which was mostly for storage and management of the material, not transmission. And the issue is that we have a very antiquated transmitter, it's an analog transmitter, and we have a fiber optic cable available, and I guess like a fiber optic transmitter.
So what are you saying, you want us to fund the equipment?
If that's a possibility.
It is a possibility, absolutely, but I'm open for a motion. I can't make a motion, I'm sorry.
I don't know how much that would cost, and I'm not really representing the town either, Jeff is
You'd
representing.
have to poke Jeff and whisper in his ear to have him make a motion. We're a pretty laid back organization, but I as the chair cannot make a motion, so.
When you say fund the purchase of this equipment,
You would get X number of percentage based upon, say we put $25,000, we transferred it from the operating account into the reimbursement, you would get a percentage of that $25,000 based upon the franchise fees that you're paying in there. There's a formula, Tyler's up to speed on, what that
that'll
formula
make
is.
up the difference.
So you could draw, yeah, so we had this, we funded 20,000, I think, I don't know if it was last year,
It was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, and this was Foxport's share, and she drew it all down, so that would be roughly.
So it'd be roughly about that amount of money is what would come
And
in.
then you would have to pay above and beyond.
Right, so you're getting a share of the total cost of the equipment upgrade.
No, you're buying the equipment and then you're submitting a reimbursement request to the PDCC to say, I got $5 in this account, I spent $20 on that equipment, I would like to use that $5 to help me pay now. You buy it, we reimburse you, that was the equipment.
That, however much money.
The reason for this plan was the exact situation that Don just mentioned, is that we would often have tiny emergencies for broadcast equipment, and they're just not funded. So we, as the organization, wanted to see if we could fund, we had a mixer break in Bar Harbor. I didn't have any money in my budget for it, and if I did have it, somebody robbed it. So I came here and bought that mixer, out of the equipment funds that we had, and that's how I paid to keep us on the air. That's just an example of what we did. So yes, you would buy the fiber channel. What did you do today? Sorry, Jason, I'm talking tech stuff on the drive over here.
I was sleeping in the backseat.
Yeah, Gary's dozing off. You would buy this $10,000 piece of gear, and if you had $1,700 in it, based upon what we funded today, you would get $1,700 towards the purchase. That's all it would.
I'm here today really for a learning experience. I'm not prepared to make financial decisions for the town, so I guess I can't do that right now.
It's not a financial decision from the town.
Well,
It doesn't involve the town
I guess
one
I
way or
might
another.
understand what you're saying. You say
The town's not, the town's, yes. That doesn't mean, the question is, do we fund money in the, we would, eventually, we would need a motion for a dollar amount. So whether it's, you vote to fund it, and then we discuss it, or you make a motion with a dollar amount in it.
I have no idea what it's going to cost. It's going to upgrade.
Right. Yeah. Yes, you're so nice.
What was it funded at last year?
It wasn't. 2 years ago, it was $20,000.
I'm looking at it, it seems if we have need in anything, capital, should have we should have some way to fund it, I guess.
Right, and you are, Old Town, you said?
Yeah.
You have $18,800 that you can use right now, so
Right.
you're probably less interested in funding the reimbursement account than Bucksport.
Well, no, actually,
He's gonna draw down on his.
yeah, he's gonna sign with me.
I do not want to know how that works.
Yeah. Actually, I'm just looking at it from the point of view that if this is a group that is all here working together, that we should keep it funded, period, whether I need it or not, but, so I guess.
Absolutely,
I don't see why we
absolutely.
wouldn't, but-
Yeah, there's no reason, before we had the reimbursement account, I actually called every single one of the members here because we had a vote to reimburse people, and I wanted money. I called every single person and begged them to come to a meeting to vote for me, so, yeah, I get that.
Does this have to occur at this meeting, or can it occur at a future meeting?
Clearly, you have not attended a PDCC meeting ever. The next meeting might not be for a year.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it might not be for a year. With no business, we don't have a meeting. So, no, you don't have to do it today at all, but it might
Might not.
happen then, you know what I mean? So, yes.
Could I clarify, does everybody understand how that reimbursement figure is figured? If we collect $100,000 in franchise fee dues from all of you, and Bucksport is 17% of that total, you will get 17% of whatever you fund this account. That's how it's done. It's your share of your dues coming back here. We started it because we were so financially heavy, that we were reducing the dues, and we said, look, why don't we put some in there for emergency breakdowns? You can draw on it, you don't have to go to town meeting for it, except for your part of the expenditure. And some people, like Ellsworth and obviously Old Town, haven't touched it. We're keeping it there for a project when more money becomes available. Town of Bucksport had some needs, they drew down and utilized that figure. That's why yours is zero. I'll give you two.
To reimburse that, it takes a request.
Yep, just, the form's right on the back of it.
Yeah.
Written request.
All it takes is a receipt. You just have to buy it. We can't give you the money in advance. That's the only rule.
So we have a zero balance now.
That is correct.
Put more money in that.
We have to fund the reimbursement account at this meeting. I would suggest we do it at this meeting.
And the idea
Based on historical.
is that it funds everybody,
Yes.
not just Bucksport.
But we're fund, no, we fund everybody. Everybody, if we put 20 grand in there, everybody gets their percentage of what it is and, you know,
Got it.
whether or not, yes.
Would a fourth of the incoming dues be too much to put in that reserve account?
We can do whatever we want.
I have no sense what that would be.
What were the collection of the dues last time? Do you know?
I can run upstairs and get some figures.
Do you mind? Can you just get a ballpark figure of?
Yep, I'll just get the last.
You know, yeah, that'd be awesome. I don't know how the answer, but I have somebody who can't get the answer. Does anybody know what their franchise fees were last year? Because I do not, sorry, apologize. So. Did you have that email from Tyler? He sent those 2 PDFs out 2 days ago. Was there deposits or anything in there? No? Okay. Basically, it's 5% of whatever your franchise is times the number of members. So I don't have that. So we're going to get that. So any other discussion about the equipment reimbursement plan? Might as well ask, we're holding pattern, so if you have any questions on works, we can cover right now.
Maybe this question's gonna seem silly, but now that I know I'm not the only one, because this is their first meeting, what is this organization? What does it do?
Essentially, the Penobscot Downeast Cable Consortium was formed after the initial cable franchise negotiation with Frontier Vision, which eventually became Adelphia, Time Warner, and now who knows what is going to happen after that. The original intent was to form an organization that cooperated together as a group to negotiate the franchise agreements. That was how it started. At some point, this predates my time, predates Gary, I think, too, a little bit maybe. It became an organization that oversaw public access broadcasting. So at one time, this group funded public access for all of the member organizations and towns.
Through a vendor, not each individual.
Yeah, so your public access channel had the same stuff that Bar Harbor was getting, and we funded programs, and there was a way to have people do public access. That went away, and once that went away, the due structure and the organization changed. Currently, we're in the middle of a franchise negotiation with Time Warner. So we look at it as, Bar Harbor as a single entity doesn't really have a lot of weight with Time Warner, so we're all banded together to try to do it. So the negotiation fees are being paid, your town's franchise negotiation costs are being paid by this organization. So
If you remember.
if you are a member, we have people that are attending this meeting, Gerlin in particular, who's a hang-around extraordinaire, and Karen, so they have joined together to negotiate, and they're paying a percentage of the negotiation to work with Time Warner. So you get a lawyer that has done this before with a law firm that's, has a dedicated department to doing negotiations with cable, so we're just trying to reap the benefit of group negotiation. Whether or not it will work or where it's going to go with it, it's funded right now. What we do with it after we finish this negotiation is up for discussion, but at this point right now, we're not talking about that.
So our dues go basically towards having that lawyer and some of the other incentives, is that right?
Yes. Yeah, so we're paying for a lawyer from Bernstein Schuer to work with us to talk directly to Time Warner. So rather than having you and I on the phone with Shelley and Time Warner and try to do all that stuff, you're funneling everything to here as a group, and then we're using Tyler and EMDC as the go-to to maintain communications with Bernstein Schuer direct. Because we do have a new lawyer from Bernstein Schuer, not a new lawyer out there, but a new lawyer working direct with it. She has brought Gary and I in as chair and co-chair, and Mary's been asking some organizational questions and trying to put some stuff together. But other than that, we usually just take a back seat and Tyler communicates with us, and that way, one common denominator, one place for all the records, one place to go to look everything all up. So whether or not Tyler had the document that we wanted here, it's upstairs and he can grab it. So it's been good to us as a group to do it. So you don't have to join next year on July 1. No, I didn't mean that, but you can drop out, that, if you don't see a benefit. We have had towns drop out. Brewer was a member at one time. They dropped out, so, but they're back just for the negotiations. And I think some of the gist of why Brewer dropped out was that it shifted towards, I don't want to speak out of turn here, but it shifted towards public access, and the dues went up accordingly to do it, and they did see a benefit for it. That'd be,
Yeah, we don't have public access.
so funding public access did make a lot of sense. So, we have the communities that are here today have decided to maintain because the franchise agreement was up for negotiation. So that could all change. So,
Speaking of public access,
yes,
our public access channel is down, has been down for a considerable amount of time. We called Time Warner came and looked at the equipment, so I don't know what it is.
that's your responsibility, that Time Warner's. Can you plug that DVD into it and broadcast on channel 2? You can't broadcast anything?
Can't broadcast anything.
Then I would say it's Time Warner's fault, but how do you prove that? You'll probably have to hire somebody to come out and look at it, but.
And I guess that's my question. Who knows about the equipment? Who purchases the equipment? Our
You
IT
did.
guys, they.
You did.
Okay.
You bought it.
Okay.
The town bought it.
How old is this equipment, We probably stopped purchasing
Oh,
J-Mac, who was the vendor that was doing the public access, and he was selling us kits and coming in and installing.
So who, because literally, we have a 5 by 6 foot wall of this equipment. And I'm told now that it can be condensed to something small. I don't know
Yes.
who the contact, I guess, is there.
You can send a group email out here, you can ask who people here are using as vendors to buy equipment from. That's, as an organization, that's what we can help you with. So I know people were using Brookside, but they're no longer here. So, is anybody using any vendor right now?
Who did we get a hold of? Southern Maine.
Maybe it's other name,
I heard Headlight before, so.
it was not much easy process.
Yeah. I know some towns have formed committees to do public access. They formed a task force or a committee or whatever you want, and then you pass that off to somebody to find somebody to come in and take care of it. I would fathom a guess that if you bypass that big monstrous wall of equipment and plug directly into the modulator for Time Warner, you could put a broadcast on. I would almost bet you $1 that you could plug something into the back of that modulator and go on the air. And that is Time Warner's responsibility to make sure that you can go to their head end.
Is this channel 2 public access, or is this all 3?
Channel 7.
For government. Yeah, I would bet you $1 that if you could go directly to your modulator and plug a straight video feed in the back, you will be on the air.
Should our channel 2 work?
Is there a reason why it shouldn't? No, none whatsoever.
I don't think our channel 2 works. We don't broadcast.
Right. And that may be, but that is Time Warner's.
I think the problem is that in order to have local access, channel 2 working just out of us, we have to have Time Warner throw a switch in the head.
Yeah.
Right now, it's still connected to the big regional
Right.
Channel 2 coming out of J Mac's old facility.
Yeah, it probably was, because JNAC was doing a combined public access, so it was feeding to all the towns. Time Warner routed it so that the head end went to every one of our communities, but that was Channel 2 only. So Jason, if you've never done anything,
It's still not,
yeah, it may not be routed right, but that's something you could call the local guys, your 2 texts, and they'll take care of it, so.
hasn't been an issue with them.
Digital broadcasting.
Just need a copy of.
Right. And I know for Mount Desert Island, Jeff Dodds has an agreement with the other towns to do the Acadia channel on your public access channel. So he broadcasts something, you know. So we look at it as it's better to have something on there than nothing, so we're not dark. But Jeff contacted Time Warner, he pays for that service, and he has it routed that way, so.
How did that all come about?
Which one, Jeff or J-Mac?
Jeff?
Jeff, you mean as far as why is he broadcasting in Southwest Harbor?
Taking advantage of government channel.
It's not a government channel, it's a public access channel.
Public access channel.
Public access to. Jeff pays Time Warner a broadcast right fee, but he doesn't want to broadcast to communities off the island, so he has an agreement with the towns on the island to broadcast on the public access channels. There's an agreement in place with Time Warner that you would relinquish the broadcasting rights during the time of his program.
Did that?
Yeah, he did. Everybody did. So when the Acadia channel is running, you don't actually have control over the channel. When the bulletin board is running, it's yours, and you're just letting Jeff broadcast it. But Jeff pays Time Warner X number of dollars per year for the broadcast rights as a commercial entity, and you're just allowing him to use the channel 2 via an agreement with Time Warner. You don't have to do it, but again, we do it because we would be like Ellsworth, we would be black, we would have no public access. So we just feel it's better to have something running on channel 2 than not.
Well, he's using channel 7.
That's government.
That's government.
That's what we use.
Right. You have 2, 5, and 7. MBI High's on 5, he's using 2.
So I have a general question for the group, because I'm just getting up to speed with this myself. My understanding is that would have more control over what goes over the air on the government and the education channel, public access channel.
Not true.
With respect to freedom of speech, that if we broadcast something on 5 or 7, that we have to allow any group
Oh, yes, that would be correct.
on 5 and 7.
Yeah, you want to strictly keep 5 to school and 7 to government only. You don't want to put anything else on there, because once you do, you have to allow somebody equal time. I forget exactly what the terminology is, but
Okay.
if you let me broadcast something on channel 7, you have to let Tyler do it too.
Right,
So
and
that's
I guess I
correct.
thought that was only the case for channel 2.
No, all 3. That's why Time Warner gave you the PEG channels, those rules apply, so, yeah, stick to government, trust me.
But other communities are, like Belfast, for instance, are broadcasting a whole variety of different.
I don't believe Belfast is broadcasting anything on other than channel 2, correct? You are using channel 2 for your public access,
Yes.
correct? You're not broadcasting public access on 7.
No.
Yeah.
No, but, so you're at risk for that at 2, on channel 2.
Public access. You would have that regardless for public access. Anything you put on public access is public access. I could come down and put something on your channel if I wanted to, if your
Right.
rules allowed me as a Bar Harbor citizen, resident, whatever, to come down and do it.
But if you stick to school or government only.
On 5 and 7.
On 5 and 7, then you
Yeah.
don't face that
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
Then that policy about them too.
Do you have to? I encourage you to have
I
one.
would
Suggest you do.
I would encourage you to.
Deny public access to your channel.
You-
If you didn't have a policy.
You as a town can do whatever you want, and whatever the citizen that got denied can challenge you in court to do. So yes, I would encourage you to have a policy.
Or would you have done that by ordinance?
Maybe, maybe not. We did. Bar Harbor has a policy.
Policy or ordinance?
Both. We have a policy for public access and town ordinance.
Could you
Absolutely.
possibly get a copy of that? I've asked that because I lived in the job for 4 months, and I've got all these people saying, oh, can you put this on public access, you put this on public access.
Yeah.
Most of it is just, we've got a play coming up, or the
Right.
school's gonna do this, or whatever else, and I'm like, okay, that's cool, but what if the KKK contacts me, and is like, I wanna put this up on your public access channel, like, we have no policy in place, how do I tell them
You
no?
I would bet the dollar that I'm gonna win from him, that you would be putting the KKK on for
Yeah.
public access.
But so,
That's the discussion that we used to have when we were doing public access here. Yes, so we can come back to this. So now that Tyler's gotten down here, so you want to run through this really quick, Tyler?
Yeah, obviously this is the 12-13 dues that were collected last.
Yeah, the $20,000, yeah.
And you can see that we funded so this kind of gets both ends here. I'll give you a copy of this. Like,
Yep. Oh, next one, thank you.
yeah, so and it was funded, the equipment reserve was funded at 20,000. So the dues, on the first column, what percent of those dues collected you are, and then from there, based on the 20,000 figure, that's how much was paid into
So you
the
paid
equipment
17
reserve account of dues that year. And you can see Bucksport, that number was drawn down.
Which is franchise fees, not revenue.
So it would be
run
roughly-
franchise fees for the town.
I assume about the same.
Okay, so
I mean, see if I can receive the year.
we don't get anywhere near that.
I'm thinking about that, just.
We don't get $30,000 from the town water franchise fees. So, I would, you can check your franchise agreement, but I would bet that based on this formula, it's probably $8,000, $7,000.
I'm thinking I'm betting that my piece of property and something like that.
I don't think it's that much. I don't think anybody gets $30,000. I mean, as a
At
rule.
the time, I mean,
No, the dues, if you read the interlocal agreement and the formulas in our bylaws, if you collect 5% franchise fee, one of those percents is your dues. So you're actually paying 5% of your franchise fee is your dues. We've cut it down to 0.25. So that's where we come from. That it's, if you read the bylaws, it's very clear how it's done. So if Ellsworth collected $100,000 in franchise fees, our dues should be, one of those, so it would be $1,000.
No, 2,500. So yeah, you might get 30,000, but that's not,
Okay.
we're calculating right, so.
sorry.
You still got that on the
That's
Excel
okay.
spreadsheet, so you can plug that in.
Right. So the original, back to the original discussion the discussion is funding in the reserve account.
Mr. Chairman, in light of waiving the dues this year, I move to not fund the equipment reserve account.
Okay. You had your hand up before a second, so was that the motion you were going to make?
No, but that's fine, we can.
Okay. Well, we have a motion on the table. Can I get a second? So the motion is to not put any funds in the equipment reimbursement account. So we're clear. All in favor? We have 4. All opposed? 3. Motion to not fund the account passes.
And any time during the year, a regularly duly called meeting,
We
can
fund it, right.
we can fund it.
There's incentive to show up, you know, you can fund the equipment. No, I'm serious, that's the only, I mean, we needed to do business, we haven't met in over a year, so if you wanna have a meeting next month, call a meeting, seriously, we'll, then make a case, we'll fund it. So, I'm not picking on you. Okay, it's Tyler's fault, that's all I can do. Yes,
I think, you know, with the new members here as well as myself, we need to go back and look at some numbers that better educate ourselves on what we've been, and come back with a clear decision next time to fund the reserve.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. I would have been inclined that if we had dues from the past year to fund, to put 20 grand or so, or 25 grand into the account. I mean, we can revisit any motion you want, but the motion on the table is now, so we can have a meeting in August. If we have, I would expect something in more detail from Time Warner soon. So we will have another meeting to discuss that, and then we can put the funding of the equipment reserve account on the table then at that point.
Because dues will be collected after July 1st.
Correct. So, okay, so discussion of next steps. I think you're all, if you're not all aware, the people that have been in the loop, Time Warner has essentially ignored us, and that's been...
Solid year.
Yes, correct. They have done nothing. We were previously working with Pat Scully from Bernstein and Shore. Pat has recently accepted managing partner role. Good for him. But he's turned over some of his account stuff. We're now working with Mary Costaman. Mary, I believe, did the franchise negotiation as a staff lawyer for Portland, I think. So she was on the, she was sitting from the municipal side negotiating it. So she went through the pain of what we are going through right now. I have noticed that since Pat turned over everything to Mary up to speed, she is very aggressive, and that's part of the reason why I think I'm not bagging on Pat. I just think Pat's been really busy, but Shelley has ignored us. Mary has gotten a reply from Time Warner, and we have essentially started the negotiating process in good faith. All of the meetings that we have had previously for what we wanted as a town and all the information that you gave Tyler. For the new people, if you don't have it, Tyler has records of what each town asked for in your franchise agreement. We did not get a draft agreement. We got an overview of a generic agreement. The highlights of that are, we asked for density to go from 18 homes per mile down to 16, and Shelley crossed that out and wrote it back to 18. She also crossed out the 300-foot installation to 150. So 300 feet from within the line, they cut that, they're proposing they want that down to 150. I lost track of how many to be discussed items were on there, so the INET, I knew I brought you for a reason. There were 9 according to Gary.
And it was all the important stuff that we wanted.
Yes, and basically, continuing of the institutional fiber network that most of us have, that was under to be discussed. There were almost everything that really was important was under to be discussed. So Mary, as of Monday, sent out an email to Shelley asking her for clarifications about what to be discussed means. So now we're back in the waiting game with Tom Warner to find out what Shelley does. But and then the other item that they had on there that they did not cross out and they did not make any comment whatsoever on was the franchise reimbursement funds for equipment reimbursement at $50 per subscriber was not redlined out. So for the new people, what that means is that if you have 1,000 subscribers in your town, so your franchise fees are based for it, we were asking for a capital improvement to do equipment upgrades and to do a number of other things at $50 per subscriber as a one-time fee that Time Warner would pay to us. And they did not cross that out and they make a comment. So that bodes well.
And that was for a 15-year deal.
That is correct, a 15-year franchise renewal. So
What we had discussed is normally it'd be a 10-year. At $35 is what we were looking at. And then we said, well, so we don't have to go through this again 15 years. Let's throw the bait out there, $50 a year, 15 years.
Right.
It's obvious that they
didn't
have heartburn over it so fast.
Yep, and that's not something they put on the to be discussed. So what that would mean for you as a community would be, you got 1,000 franchise subscribers, you get $50 per franchise subscriber, you would get that given to you at a town. So
For the benefit of public access broadcast.
or government or
The
educational.
PEG channels.
The PEG channels.
Regardless of whether you had received any seed money in the past through,
That's not a condition that we put in there, and that's not one that we saw coming back. So, that's not to say that they're not gonna come back and change it later and say they want it done on a reimbursement. I think you mentioned that you were surprised that we didn't see that. You know, so you would buy $40,000 worth of equipment, and your franchise fee allowed you 50, you submitted the bill for 40, and that's what they paid you, but you used the rest of it. That's not how it's worked in the past, so, but how it moves forward, I don't know, but that wasn't one of the to-be-discussed items. So, those are the four major things. I don't think I missed anything from that was in there. They took some other things out, references to old analog items, which don't really apply because it's all digital now. They changed some penalty fees for that if they changed the PEG channel locations from 2, 5, and 7, that they would reimburse you up to $5,000 to reprint your cards and your posters, and they changed that to $300. You know, those are all things that we don't really care about. I mean, if you do, we can put it back in there, but those are the things that you can expect to see.
They're not gonna change.
They're not gonna change. They won't, I can tell you right now, if you wanna pick that fight, it's probably not worth it. But really, you know, if they move the channel, do you care if they move it from 5 to 7 or from 5 to 8 or whatever? I mean, that's where it would come from. If you had to print a card or a business poster or something like that. They also changed the penalty fee from $50 a day to $10, or no, from $100 to $50 a day if there was a dispute. You went before with the board meeting, or you had a resident that had a problem. Derlin comes to me and says, Steve, I'm having a problem with my service and my bill, and I want a solution with Time Warner. Me as the representative to Time Warner would call Shelley or whoever and say, I have a resident who's upset. Now that I put Time Warner on official notice, they have X number of days to reply to me and say, we're gonna make Derlin happy, or we're gonna come to an agreement. And at the end of that X number of days that they haven't done anything, there's a penalty that Time Warner has to pay. They change it from $100 to $50 a day. You know, again, if you want to get your lawyer involved, to go ahead and fight that. So, that is the essential gist of what the changes are. So the good news is the $50 per head's in there. The bad news is that we don't know what's going to happen with the institutional networks and the density. Gary and I asked Mary to put the density back into 16 and to change the installation from 150 back to 300. So we said we want it back, that's the way it is right now, and we want the density to be 16. So that's the only change that we have asked for. Otherwise, everything stays the status quo. So that is what we have had. I would hope that what we would hear from them next would be an answer on the generic questions, so that we could get a copy of the agreement specific to your town to hand out. I think based upon timeliness, I wouldn't expect that before the end of the year, at the rate they're going, but I could be wrong. I'm frequently wrong, yes.
This is an individual matter for me. When I first came here, I asked for a 10-year.
You can sign a 10-year with them.
But the thing is, I've changed that to a 15-year in the last January. And the latest I have is still 10-year.
There's been nothing updated to you to reflect 10 years.
The 10 years, you know, that I received from Southwest Harbor.
You received that from Time Warner?
This is a copy of franchise agreement you sent to all the towns, isn't it?
No, we sent a generic one out.
Well, this one here specific is showing 10 years.
So I'll make
You
sure.
can send, yeah, you can send another one out.
It's supposed to
And
say
if it's not in there, I'll
15
make
years.
sure that Mary makes that change.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Southwest Harbor.
For the term, franchise shall commence and be effective for 15 years, not 10 years.
And everybody else asked for 15, yes.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that's
I
my
was
problem.
advised to 10, and then we discussed it at town, and said, no, let's stay with
Okay,
15.
that's super easy. We'll have Tyler send an email to Mary, and that's.
Make sure that goes.
Yes,
Is
yes.
it accurate to say she didn't make any reference to the individual towns that we go over 2 roads?
There were no individual references to towns. I was hesitant to say this, but since Bangor isn't here, we saw, they use Bangor as the generic document then. So there wasn't anything specific in there to Bangor other than where their drops for their fiber connections were. That was the only thing. They just used it, I think, because they were the largest group. I don't know why they picked that, but there was nothing in there about specific towns. And the one portion of the agreement in there that references the institutional network or the fiber network, we had put specific language in there saying, as per the original agreement for Frontier Vision, you know, because it's already an agreement, it's already to go, and that was one of the to be discussed items. I think Gary and I made a comment back to Mary that the fiber networks that the towns have in operation is a deal breaker. They can't take that away. And they're making notice that they don't want to do it. And that, as far as we're concerned, they're not going to get a franchise agreement unless they agree to it. Does that mean that they want to give it away to us? They want to sell it to us? We don't know, but I know Jason just had a run-in with Time Warner about doing a fiber drop. Our current franchise agreement says above your original fiber drops, you can buy them at cost. That's what your current franchise agreement says. Time Warner is not willing to honor that. So you have to go to battle to get them to do it. Now, I have done it, Jason has done it, I mean, you can make them do it, it's just a lot of work. It was worth it for me to do it.
They want me to go on alternates, and I don't have to do that. I thought I did.
They want to do what?
They want me to go up the alternates in order to have sex. I had alternate sex
Right.
in the beginning.
Yeah, and that's
So
all.
telling me I don't have to do, you told me that I don't have to do.
Yes.
So, no.
Yeah, so if you have specific questions about your franchise agreement and what's in there and stuff like that, you may call me, direct. Only because I've gone through the pain and agony of fighting with Time Warner over fiber drop. So you're welcome. See, I did something, I did a favor for you.
What I need to know is how to get an alternate.
Good luck. I told you how to do it, I didn't say it was easy. But we did tell Mary that those institutional networks are not negotiable. So that's huge for a lot of these towns. So we're not going to negotiate on that. I do know that Tremont briefly joined briefly joined this table to negotiate the franchise agreements. And their agreement, they decided to drop out, and their negotiated agreement with Time Warner was 12 homes per mile density. You know the caveat is, don't you? You don't know the caveat.
I've been dealing with my other issues.
Okay. The caveat was that if you drive down the road and you see a satellite dish in any home in that mile, the density goes up to 20. So, Tremont.
I am real good.
Yeah, well, I don't have Time Warner, I've got a satellite at my house. I mean, my neighbors would be mad at me. You know, I mean, that's a discussion for density, you know, I'll throw it out on the table. And this has happened since our last meeting, but they signed an agreement, 12 homes per mile density, but if we see a satellite dish, it's 20. So, I mean, your individual one, Don had one for 10 years and 15, we can put an individual request in your agreement if you so desire. Tyler, I'll be happy to email Mary.
Do they make a distinction between aerial and underground lots?
They do, and we asked them to make it the same because the distinction was different. They changed it from, I forget exactly what it was, but it was not the same, and we asked them to make it the same. I believe it was, we asked them to go 16 for the density, homes per mile. It's currently at 18. That said, we would accept 18, but we're not willing to give it away immediately.
16 is the current.
18. 18 is the current. So we want them to drop it. We don't think we're going to win, but we're not going to give it away either.
Use it as a bargaining chip.
Yep. So that's it. Any questions on the discussion or where we're at with the franchise negotiation or what we're expecting or what you're expecting or what you need to know to move forward or what you want to tell your councils, anything? I know some people at this table will call me direct, so no big deal. Just call me if you have questions.
The unfortunate information that we received from some of the workers in Belfort with this possibility of Comcast taking over Time Warner, that the local guys told us that the national survey showed that Time Warner Cable was next to last in customer service. Comcast is last.
Yeah. Kenny, you have a question?
We didn't talk about the transfer control documents at all.
We can.
I just wondered what people were doing, if they're doing anything about the.
We are not. The advice from Pat Scully when it transferred from Adelphia to Time Warner was ignore it. And because there's a mechanism in place that the transfer is going to occur regardless of whether we approve it or not, and we just don't feel like we need to approve it. It's not something that we wanted to give our blessing to, and it's not really something that affects us. So Pat advised us last time to ignore it, and that's the advice that we're giving to any city or town now is do nothing, just throw it away. Ignore it, let it sit on there. If Time Warner really wants to have it, they'll make a better effort to negotiate the franchise agreement. They have a lot of documents that they need to have because they're public corporations, so they look good, and they're just not gonna get it from us because they don't play well. So Pat said ignore it. So, and that was Mary's comment as well.
And I'd suggest you know better than doing what he just told you. You don't throw it away, you put it in the file.
Oh, yeah.
Government doesn't ever throw anything away.
I said put it somewhere, throw it away or put it somewhere. Throw away the extra copies.
There you go.
Yes.
Our cable ordinance requires transfer of people by the town.
You're on your own. You are on your own. So ours does not, so we ignore it.
Federal statutes typically may trump your,
They may.
you have 120 days to respond.
Yeah, they may. Really, Time Warner can make the effort to track you down to do it. They didn't last time, so we're gonna do nothing. Or at least Bar Harbor's gonna do nothing. I believe Ellsworth is doing nothing. Yeah, that's a town thing, so you'll have to approve it. So you can deny it and send it over there. Put your stamp of approval on that if you want. So
That's this document.
yes, our lawyer's advice says ignore it.
Could I ask a couple of things about the proposed draft?
Absolutely, that's why we're here.
I don't want to take a long time.
You know what? The whole reason we're here is to discuss that. We just needed to do some board business before.
In the proposed agreement, if I read it correctly, it assigns responsibility to resolve subscriber complaints to the town if Time Warner Cable can't resolve the subscriber complaint.
That's what I was referring to about the dollar figure, because Derlin came to me as the representative first, and then I go to Time Warner, and then we're supposed to work it out between them. So there is specific complaint resolved in the draft agreement. It's not the town's responsibility. The town's is the point of first contact. So
The way I read it though is that the complaint goes to Time Warner Cable. If they can't resolve the satisfaction of the complainant, then the town bears responsibility to resolve the issue.
the town contacts Time Warner, and that's where the penalty kicks in if they don't resolve it. So, yeah, Derlin can call Time Warner first, and then, if he doesn't like it, then he comes to me and we go to Time Warner. So that's the way that I read
So
it.
the town becomes the act on behalf of it.
Yes, yeah, we're the franchise authority, yes.
Another question I had was that in our draft agreement, we have just one page, origination point identified, we're allowed to, are we still able to identify the second one?
Yes, that was that was one of the things that we asked for you to put in the agreement that was sent to Tyler to be forwarded to lawyers. Like, here's the list of things that Bar Harbor had asked for. We didn't ask for a drop. I believe you asked for one. You don't have any, and you were asking for one. You need to send that to Tyler and outline specifically what it is, where it is, and you want it added to your agreement, and send it over to Mary Ann and be added to your draft agreement.
And I'm not sure if, I don't know if I heard responses from Old Town or VZ, so that if you want to do the same.
VZ's here, you're VZ, right?
Yeah, well, they're both real Old Town and VZ's. So,
Oh, you mean as far as what they wanted originally?
Yeah.
Okay.
only two.
Okay. So that means that you haven't asked for anything from Time Warner, so you may ask for things to be put into your agreement if you want. For example, the things that we asked for from Bar Harbor was we asked for the density standard to be lowered to 60 homes per mile. We asked to keep our 3 PEG channels. We asked for a capital PEG reimbursement grant. We asked to keep our current upstream feeds. We asked to keep our fiber network. We asked for free internet access to a public building. And we asked, and that was it. So we didn't ask for anything special. Mount Desert asked for a INET drop somewhere, and somebody else asked, I think it was you that asked for a drop to the fire station for cable, is that correct?
Yeah, we want that.
You got that, there you go, so,
Yeah. And we can do that.
don't say that.
And we, Ellsworth asked for 3 more big origination points.
Yes.
For the preschool.
So if you guys have something that you want to ask for, send an email to Tyler.
We specifically asked for 2 roads to be.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, if you have anything or you're not sure what to ask for, now's the time to put it in, because it's still a draft.
Another question I had, is the security fund. The current agreement here is reference to security fund, $75,000.
Oh, a surety bond?
Well, do me a letter of credit as well.
Okay.
The security fund.
Okay.
The proposed agreement has no mention at all.
There's something in there about the being bonded in the new agreement. They have to post, they have to show,
Performance bond.
not a performance bond, but an insurance to do the work.
And I think also we're talking a little different donut, because the original one was, they were initially coming in and building the system.
Yes.
Now they have the system in, so they have no construction. So that's, I think, why it was taken out, is the initial franchise agreement that we all did was before we had cable. They were building it in, so we may even have that performance bond, or sure.
And the last question I have is, in the proposed agreement, it requires the town to indemnify Taiwan Cable for paid claims.
Yes.
But that's different than the current agreement.
What does the current agreement say for you? Every town's agreement is a little bit different. So what does yours specifically say? Really what Time Warner's saying is that KKK reference that we had earlier. If you broadcast something by the KKK and people are all bent out of shape about it, it's not Time Warner's problem, it's yours, you allowed it to go on. That's what it means. Time Warner's giving you the channel to do with what you wish.
If I understand that the application of the term indemnify, it would be that Time Warner's sued somebody was unhappy publicly or on a TV channel, the town would cover their loss.
That would be a question for Mary, but I'm not aware I can answer that.
I just got my eye over that. What number? Section 12B.
What page?
Page 18.
Municipalities covered under the control. Off that for anybody who get money out of municipalities unless it was made.
Well, if you're agreeing that you're going to cover another party's loss, indemnify, raise the question, what does that mean?
Can you just send an email to Mary? That's not the way that I read it, but I'm not a lawyer, so that's okay. Yeah. And really, you're gonna have MMA anyway to cover it, so your insurance can get sued anyway, MMA's, you would probably wanna check to see what your insurance is with MMA. Any other questions? Good one, thanks.
You might be able to chase that language right back to the model franchise agreement legislation.
That might be true. We'll ask Mary, let's see what we can do. Any other questions about the proposed agreement or upcoming, anything at all? Franchise transfers, anything else? We need to approve some outstanding bills and invoices, or will those take care of? Or Gary came up last week.
Yeah.
We're all set? Okay, great. Other business? I'm happy to stay a little bit after if you guys have any specific questions.
And to cover that, just so people know, during the last year, when we haven't had the meetings, when the monthly bills for EMDC or the insurance. We had our, well, I billed insurance last year, which are common occurrence bills. If Steve or I have been in Bangor, because we're the two signatories, we run in and sign them, or if neither of us is going to be here, Tyler mails them to Steve, he reviews them, signs them. Neither one of us will sign anything that isn't a routine expense that has been previously
Right, yeah.
approved in concept.
Right, so it's just been monthly bills for EMBC, and then, emergency insurance, and all the things that's, so.
So we don't have collection agents that much.
Yeah, and it's not often I get off the island, so thank you, Gary. Any other business, any other questions that we have? No?
I had one.
Go.
I noticed that we're getting a $3 a month paper statement fee. We trust electronic media enough to get rid of that and just have them start emailing them to,
For key bank?
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so, I know,
I know, it's only
I don't,
$36 a year.
I don't have a problem with that, make a motion, we'll have Tyler contact them to,
Well, I can't do that.
I can run into Key Bank, I can take that. I will wait until we get a copy of the minutes draft, so I will show them that we talked about it and approved it if we do. So,
in a second, yeah, all in favor? All right, you just saved $3 a month, you guys are awesome. Does that go to the heart of the financial man you are then? Yeah, that's almost offensive, but it's funny. Any other, yes, sir?
I have a question of curiosity. The current agreement provides the towns to insert promotional brochures in Time Warner bills 4 times a year. Has anybody ever done that?
I think you have to have them arranged 90 days in advance, is what the reality is, and we've never had anything, we've had promotional stuff ready 90 days in
To
advance.
promote programming specifically, or?
I don't know.
Maybe we should vote that Belfast does the Wiener Dog Festival and has it promoted at Time Warner's flyer inserts, so.
The
No, we
proposed
have,
draft makes a reference to that, so
I don't believe anybody has ever done it, if that's something you want to put back in,
I was just curious.
we can do.
With the advent of the new local mail systems, it's so much easier to just take it into UPS store in High Street, Ellsworth, and say, I want this to go to everybody with an 04605 there.
I think a lot of that,
They take care of it.
I think a lot of that language is from the Frontier Vision, which predates the web.
It probably was intended to promote local programming, utilize that program.
Any other? Yes.
Can I just revisit this again around this freedom of speech kind of challenge with public access? So is it my understanding whoever operates a public access channel that they draft or write in some policy, and then they just kind of hope that nobody challenges the constitutionality of that policy and we're law?
Pretty much.
That's it.
It's like how a town does everything, you know, you put something out there and you hope that it doesn't get challenged because you did it right the first time.
So-
You know, but that is the gist, yes, the answer is that it's you are allowing the general public at large, residents, however you want to define the people that have access to your PEG check, your public access channel too, to put broadcasting on there. Now, are you approving that broadcasting, either implicitly by allowing them? You have somebody running your channel, correct? Yeah, so you have a policy in place before, yeah.
And they have their own committee, and they've come up with their sort of policy and mission statement of what that's going to be.
Right. So okay, that's probably Ned.
Yeah,
So
that's
okay.
our Ned.
I'll get a copy from Ned. Does anybody else have policy written
We
around
do,
that?
our Harbor does.
Would it be possible?
Yeah, you can download it from our website. If you can't find it, you can just email me or call me. I can give you my card before you go, but we have a policy for broadcasting as well, so.
On public access?
Yes. Yeah. Even though we don't have any mechanism to do it, we have an agreement with Jeff Dobbs to do it for us. We don't own any equipment
I see.
to do public access. We do Cheney stuff. But yeah, the KKK thing, yeah, pretty scary. But it is what it is, you know. You can't make that determination, you know, what you can and can't put on there. You can pull a plug and go dark, and other people have.
Right. It's just been a, you know, a barrier for us in the past.
Not just for you, a lot of people. Any other questions?
We haven't had one complaint in the city of Ellsworth that channel 2 is black. You know how many times the phone rings when the council meeting isn't on yet?
Oh yeah, I got called at home one night and said the web broadcast went down and get my button in there and fix the server. They're watching, which is good.
So you become somebody.
Don't go there. Don't go there. Wow, Darren, I had so much respect for you, you know?
Girl, the police chief wrestling.
You think the island's big traps now?
Apparently, yeah, we gotta come and kiss his ring.
You're the guy.
I would suggest that we set a date for our next meeting, even though we don't know what Time Warner is gonna do, and then we postpone it, but it's better to have a date on the table. I would say 3 months from here, which would put us in August. Tyler, you wanna whip out a date on your iPhone there?
So 6/13 or 20 is Wednesday.
Doesn't matter to me. Let's go 6/13 just because it's the first day. 8/13, sorry.
It'll be the second Wednesday.
Anyone want to volunteer a place?
Yeah, if you want, like to host a meeting, we're happy to have you host a meeting. You don't have to come to beautiful downtown.
Or we can have it here.
We can have it here, other towns have hosted it. I mean, I would strongly urge you that as delightfully beautiful as Bar Harbor is, you probably don't want to try to find parking in August at the municipal building, but I will happily host it. Otherwise, anybody want to host? No? Otherwise we can do it here?
I mean, this is pretty good, secondly located.
Done. It's EMDC, so 8/13. I will follow up with Tyler, as I usually do, approximately 3 weeks before the meeting to see what we have from Time Warner and what we can do. So, as always, you should get at least 2 weeks' notice if we're going to cancel this. And Don's favorite motion to make is? Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much for coming and getting the quorum. I can't tell you how in the past painful it has been for me to drive an hour and a half here and not get a quorum. So from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it. Thought about it and then either did it for a little while or dropped out to do the group thing kind of thing and save some monies, but everybody else is a member. So we can have everybody go around and introduce themselves again if you want. Otherwise, you can come, if you guys have specific questions and you want to talk to me, I can give you my card, you can call me direct, or you can ask them right now if you want to take something offline. I don't mind, I'm more than, despite what Gary says, I'm more than happy to be helpful. I was nice to the whole people that one day, does that count?
You said hi.